I've got a riddle for you. What's orange, still alive in ACC tournament play, and ready for round 3 against Duke? Okay, I'm no riddler. I think this one's pretty easy. It's Syracuse men's basketball, and they ran all over Florida State in their first tournament matchup, a 96-57 blowout win for SU, and it was a fun one. And we're breaking it down on Orange Press Pass and looking ahead to tomorrow's rematch against the 1-seeded Duke Blue Devils in the next round. Cue the music. It's Press Pass, and it starts right now. It's playoff Press Pass here in the CitrusTV studios. Sam Lebowitz, Leo Silverman, and Zach Letson with us. Noah Searson will join us from the Barclays Center in just a moment. We're breaking down a blowout ACC tournament win for SU basketball over Florida State. I said it before, 96-57 your final. Just 2 points off the largest margin of victory in Syracuse tournament history. So Leo, first thoughts. What went right in SU's postseason opener?
Sam, I'm going to keep this simple for you, all right? This is the best SU's defense has looked all year long. I mean, this was insane to me. I mean, statistic-wise, Florida State shot 32% from the field in the entire game. That's nuts to me. But really, when you look into it, it's just the movement from the Syracuse defense was so great. The rotations around the perimeter, they just did not let any of these guys get any open shots from downtown the whole game. And letting Symir Torrance around at the top of that key is a real reason why it worked so well, in my opinion, Zach.
Leo, you focused on the defense, and they were great in this game, as good as they've been almost all season long. But I'm looking at the offense, and specifically Cole Swider, because he continues, Sam, to play the best basketball of his entire life. That's right, his entire life with what we've seen recently. 28 points today. I've never seen him this confident as a shooter. Goes 4 from 6 from downtown. He constantly is finding open looks off the ball. That's what's so impressive is he does it when he doesn't even have the basketball in his hands. And this is the end of the season. It feels like the pressure's off for him. He's been great, and this game was outstanding. 28 points in the win.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Cole Swider later, but for this game, Syracuse got the 8th-seeded Florida State Seminoles first in their ACC tournament run. After both teams split their regular season matchups, a reeling SU squad that finished under 500 for the first time ever under Jim Boeheim had something to prove. So let's head down to the Barclays Center and see exactly how it went down. A snowy day in Brooklyn and lots of fans out in this one. Early on in this one, a little back and forth. Both teams started out pretty slow until Buddy Boeheim, the leading scorer of the ACC, started to pick up some points and advanced SU in this one. Cole Swider, you talked about him, Zach. Here he is from the corner. A huge day, a double-double on the day for Cole in this game. And then Joe Girard, we've talked about it before. He loves playing under the big lights, and he had some pretty big moments here in this first half. A little up and under here, and then Cole's going to pull up here from 3. And guess what? He sinks it. Yep, he does. Heading into the second half, Syracuse up plenty in this one, 17 with 3.5 left. John Bull, Jacques, a little gritty on the court there. Second half was all Syracuse in this one. How about Cole Swider right there from outside the arc? A 4-point play. He gets fouled as he goes up for the shot. He would sink that 4th one. And then, how about Jimmy Boeheim, the slam? Puts Syracuse up by 40, and let's get the reserves in. With 4 minutes left, Patty Casey's getting minutes and getting some points in this one. Syracuse destroys Florida State in this one. They win 96-57. And as for, guys, what did you think in this one?
I mean, this was an absolute blowout, Sam. I mean, I feel like we all came in here and thought, man, this is going to be a close contest from a Syracuse team that is just absolutely disappointed its fan base the entire game long, and they blew the brakes off of them. I mean, just shooting the ball. Zach, you talked about Cole Swider. We saw Joe Girard get involved. We saw Symir Torrance. 9 assists in this game. Absolutely insane. Everything was going right for this SU team, and it's cardiac cues. I mean, what else do I have to say, Zach?
Yeah, this was the Cole Swider game. There's no doubt about it. But also, and you can see on your screen, that game way back in December, very reminiscent in terms of Florida State could not shoot in this game. 2 for 25 from 3, and they were horrendous in that game back in December as well. Reminiscent to that, but this was just the complete package in terms of you're putting together all the offense with all the defense. Syracuse hadn't done that against Florida State or really any other opponent yet this season.
All right, so let's talk about that Florida State shooting. You mentioned in this one something that has not been necessarily a weakness for Florida State this year, but it absolutely was in this game. Just 2 3-pointers made for Florida State. I think it was a big difference maker. What do you guys think, Leo?
Yeah, I mean, it's been the difference maker for all three of these games, Sam, against Syracuse if you're FSU. I mean, just look at the statistics, Zach. I mean, that first game down in Tallahassee, FSU shoots 4 of 30 from deep. They lose. They come to the Dome. They shoot 12 of 20. That's above 50% for you mathematicians out there. They win that game, and now they shoot 2 of 25. That is a terrible, terrible statistic. And that's really what knocked out their entire offense and made them look so sluggish, even after halftime. So it's FSU's threes is the biggest benefactor for Syracuse in these 2 wins they've had.
Well, you know, we're so used to Florida State being one of those teams in the conference that's near the top of the ACC, but this Florida State team, I mean, really nothing special. 12th in threes made in the ACC this season. For once, they made the Syracuse perimeter defense look good. I know it's crazy to think, right, because we haven't seen that a lot this year, but they made them look good, and that was really the deciding factor in this game, because once they go cold from 3, Syracuse made 3 after 3, and it became a blow. I mean, this was a blowout very quickly.
Yeah. Right. And it wasn't just the three-point shooting for both sides. For Syracuse, lots went well today, and you can tell that alone from the score. But one area that the SU squad excelled in was the transition offense. The Orange scored 33 points on fast breaks today. That's a season high. Zach, how do they manage that?
I mean, so for Syracuse depth-wise, I think the return of Symir Torrance, which is something we'll talk about a lot in this show, that opens up the floodgates. When you have someone that can get steals, when you have someone who's pass first and doesn't want to shoot the ball, this was just a scrappy game for the Orange in terms of they're getting out, they're getting steals, and they were hustling way more than Florida State was in this game.
Yeah, Zach, you just alluded to my point there with this. I mean, Florida State, this entire game just looked like they didn't want to get back on defense, like we're playing pickup out there. I mean, come on, you got to get back on defense. But also, you look at, we love to talk about the 2-3 defense. But one of the things that not a lot of people talk about is it sort of lends itself to this sort of push the tempo offense, because your guards at the top of that 2-3, they really don't have to come down and track men into the paint. They can let them go. So when, your Barama Sidibe, your Frank Anselm get that rebound, they can just kick it up to about half court, and you've got guards just running out there. And with guards like Joe Girard and Buddy Boeheim that can shoot down, knock down threes off the dribble, it works really well, and that's why you see a season-high 33 transition offense points for this SU offense.
And one of the key pieces of that Syracuse offense was Cole Swider. We talked about him in the highlights. He was great in this game. Shooting guard paced the offense with 28 points, picked up his 6th double-double of the season with 13 rebounds. It's been an up-and-down year for Cole Swider, but when the lights came on, Leo, boy, did he deliver. Yeah,
boy, did he deliver. And Sam, I'm willing to call him the most efficient offensive player on this SU team. I mean, it's crazy that he uses such little dribbles, and he's so good off the ball, specifically moving around that perimeter three-point line, using those off screens he got from guys like Symir Torrance occasionally to get those open looks. And he's totally confident, willing to pull up from 3 anywhere in guys' faces. And he was even just so aggressive going to the paint, Zach. I mean, we saw him drive in for a couple of and ones. He had that beautiful 4-point play in the corner. When this guy's on, no matter who's guarding him, he's going to find a way to score without the ball, with the ball in his hands, and it's just beautiful to watch.
You talked about how efficient he's been for Syracuse. I think right now he's in a stretch that no Syracuse player really has had all season. Over 16 points per game and 55% from 3 over his last 12 games. That's not a small sample size. Now, we're talking 12 games here. Back half of the season, Cole Swider has been different. I think, honestly, Leo and Sam, it's a mindset thing. It looks like he's just having more fun out there, approaching these games differently, and the Syracuse offense, they've adjusted to that and gotten him some perfect looks. Boy, is he feasting.
Yeah, we'll see if that hot streak continues for Cole against Duke tomorrow. As for this game, really no surprise that Cole Swider is our Orange Press Pass player of the game. I mentioned it, his 6th double-double of the year. And he led the team in rebounds today with 13, just as he did for this team over the course of the regular season. And that included 3 offensive boards. He was also 4 of 6 beyond the arc. We're just getting started on Orange Press Pass. Still to come when we come back. Hopefully we'll talk to our reporter Noah Searson from the Barclays Center. We'll see what the biggest X factor was for SU in their biggest blowout win of the season. Stay with us. Welcome back to Orange Press Pass. Here, Syracuse taking down Florida State 96-57 in their first ACC tournament matchup. Now, we're joined here live from Brooklyn with our reporter Noah Sears. And Noah, now postseason play is always a different animal in college hoops. So, what was the vibe like today at a packed crowd in the Barclays Center? And what was the breakdown of FSU fans to Cuse fans, and how did Syracuse feed off the crowd?
Still a winner, courtesy of our friends.
Sam, I think the noon tip-off was maybe a bit early for some of the basketball fans in town for the ACC tournament. I will say the Orange dominated the crowd that was here. You had a sea of orange in the stands, and I don't necessarily think it was the crowd or how hyped they were that affected the Orange, but just playing in the Barclays Center after the game, it's something that Cole Swider, Joe Girard talked about, the fact that playing, where an NBA team like the Brooklyn Nets plays, it's just that much more special, let alone in New York City. So I think the crowd will be a little more exciting come the weekend games, Friday, Saturday, but certainly the Orange were ready to go under the lights here in the Barclays Center, and it improved their play today.
Noah, great to see you. Hope you're enjoying your time in Brooklyn. I got to ask, at the end of that game, we saw John Bulajak go down late with apparent knee injury off of a rebound. I'm curious, what was your view and take on the injury at the end of that game? Excuse me.
Yeah, Leo, kind of a bit of a weird play. You saw Jean Bulajak go up for a rebound, trying to find somebody to pass it to, and in the process pivots his knee weird, twists it, and he didn't play for the rest of the game. From the sidelines, I saw that he was in an immense amount of pain, and even after the game, Coach Boeheim talked about the fact that he didn't think it looked good. There was no update on his exact status, but like you said, it is that same knee that has bothered Bulajak in the past. So I don't really see him playing against Duke tomorrow, and that's going to have a big impact on the game, considering Jean Bulajak played 12 very important impact minutes when Duke traveled up to the Salt City just a couple weeks ago and provided a much-needed boost on defense. So when the Orange are already shorthanded, you're already missing Benny Williams for the rest of the season, I think Ajak going down impacts them even more going into the matchup against Duke tomorrow.
Well, Noah, I want to focus on the defense because they were great in this game. 57 points against Florida State. If you also remember, they gave up just 60 when these two played back in December. So what was different today? Was it an energy thing? Was it a communication thing? Was it a spacing thing? Because this defense looked locked down this afternoon.
Well, Zach, first off, for whatever reason, the 2-3 zone, it's different in March. There's some sort of magic that Jim Boeheim is able to conjure up. And you mentioned specifically against the Seminoles, they've been successful all season long. It's because Florida State, they can't shoot from distance. Only 2 of 25 from behind the arc. That allows the Orange to really pack inside in the paint, not let the Seminoles attack the middle of the zone with their 7-footers. That's what the Seminoles love to do. Florida State, more of a slashing team, getting inside. Syracuse able to pack it inside and really stalwart the Florida State Seminoles all game long. But when you talk about tomorrow, that's going to be tough to do against Duke. Coach Boeheim talking about after the game, when you're facing a squad that has shooters like A.J. Griffin, Paulo Banchero, Wendell Moore. We've seen it twice now this season that the Blue Devils can shoot the lights out over the top of that Syracuse zone. So I think the Orange are going to have to shift up kind of how they do their zone. I wouldn't even be shocked if they move to that diamond 1-3-1 or even, dare I say, man-to-man. It seems crazy, but they're going to have to switch things up against the Blue Devils, obviously the best team in the ACC, and they have dominated Syracuse all season long. So 2-3 zone, great against Florida State, but they're going to have to make some adjustments going against Duke tomorrow.
Noah Sears, and thank you so much for your coverage. He's doing that with live basketball playing behind him. How good is he at this reporting thing? When we come back, Syracuse has another game on tap in under 24 hours. And guess who's on deck? We're previewing heavyweight round 3 against Duke when we return on OPP.
They took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Some kids never smile. They're embarrassed by their crooked teeth. They want braces like the other kids, but their families can't afford them. Some may even try to straighten their teeth themselves. That can make everything worse. Luckily, there's Donated Orthodontic Services, a program from the American Association of Orthodontists. It helps provide orthodontic treatment to kids and teens whose families can't afford it. For kids who apply, are approved, and are matched with a volunteer orthodontist, it can be life-changing. Their treatment is in the hands of an expert, a licensed local orthodontic specialist who improves their smiles by correctly aligning teeth and jaws. Some kids think they'll never smile again, but Donated Orthodontic Services may help them smile with confidence. To link to the application and eligibility requirements, visit aaoinfo.org.
Welcome back to Orange Press Pass. I'm Sam Lebowitz. They're Leo Silverman and Zach Letson. Syracuse 96 to 57 victors over Florida State in the ACC tournament today. But it's a double-sided blade for SU. Obviously, on the one end, they survived to live another day in the conference tournament. But on the other side, they advanced to play the one-seeded Duke Blue Devils. Last we saw at Duke, they trounced SU in front of a record Carrier Dome crowd, and they've outscored Syracuse by 45 points across their two matchups this season. So it's to say it's a tough task for Syracuse is a bit of an understatement. We're going to do tail of the tape style here. It's the Devils in the details, right? Okay.
Nice.
So we're going to start with three-point shooting. One aspect that these two squads are actually pretty close in statistically, at least a little bit. We saw Syracuse just sink 11 three-pointers against Florida State, so we can hope that they keep the hot hand tomorrow. Leo, who's got the edge in terms of shooting the three ball?
You know, Sam, it's funny because you're talking about the Blue Devils versus Syracuse, two teams on very different trajectories. I'm going to give the edge to Syracuse on this one, Zach. I knew you were going to give me that reaction, but I mean, listen, you look at some of these statistics. These last three games, Syracuse has shot over 40% from three. Sam alluded to the fact that it's actually so close of a statistical difference between their three-point shooting. 37.7% for Duke, 37.6% for Syracuse. But Syracuse shoots more of them. So I'm going to give the edge to Syracuse, and it's mainly because here's my point about this, Zach. Syracuse lives and dies by that three. Duke can do other things on their offense. So Syracuse gets the edge on three-point shooting for me.
Let me ask you something. You watched the game here 2 Saturdays ago?
I may have.
97 points?
I did.
Yeah, I'd say that seems pretty good at shooting the whole three-ball thing. And listen, Syracuse, like you said, they're top 4 in scoring offense, top 4 in shooting the threes. But the advantage here is absolutely going to Duke. I mean, in terms of guys that can spread the floor, Paolo Banchero, then you got A.J. Griffin, who plays like a big man. He plays like he's like 6'10", and oh, by the way, he can shoot 48% from distance, too. I got to give the edge to the Blue Devils on this one.
Let me check the math on Leo. That's 0.1 difference
0.1,
between
Sam.
Syracuse. I don't know, Zach. It's pretty close.
It's close. You can't argue it's not close.
So three-point shooting is obviously key for these two teams, but in college hoops, a big key in general is play under the hoop. And on the Syracuse side, no Jesse Edwards. We talked about maybe no John Bolajak for the rest of the year off the bench. That leaves just two centers, really, for SU. But for Duke, we've seen Mark Williams impose his will on Syracuse before. Zach, advantage Duke?
Imposing his will, Sam, that might be putting it lightly. Mark Williams took Syracuse to the cleaners, and guess what? He's going to do it again tomorrow. He had 23 points and 12 boards in that game back 2 Saturdays ago. Syracuse didn't have a player with more than 6 rebounds. And who was it in that game? Oh, yeah, it was Benny Williams, who unfortunately we won't see playing in that game tomorrow. He's going to feast down low, and Syracuse, I mean, rebounding has been a problem against anybody in college basketball. Now you're faced with one of the better rebounders in the entire conference, and this Duke team, which talent-wise stacks up better than anyone else in the ACC, I think Syracuse is really going to have a lot of trouble.
Zach, I agree with you. I think Mark Williams has a lot more laundry he needs to get done up here in the Salt City. But, I mean, take a look at it. The Seminoles, big man, only 19 points, and they actually out-rebounded. Syracuse out-rebounded FSU. That doesn't happen very often, Zach. And against a team like Duke, it's not going to happen. So I also have to very obviously give the edge here to Duke. There's just nobody out there who can guard Mark Williams. Even if they don't start knocking down their three-point shooting like we just talked about, they could throw the ball into that guy for a solid 20-point double-double any day against this Frank Anselm and Barama Sidibe duo, who even still had foul trouble in what is probably one of the biggest SU blowouts in their men's basketball recent history. So Blue Devils certainly have the advantage there, Sam.
I think I tend to agree with you guys on that one. And I mentioned John Boljack leaving this game with an injury. Noah talked about it when we talked to him as well. Certainly doesn't help the SU depth, but let's take a deeper look into the benches. I'm not a betting man, Leo, but if I was, I think I'd put some money down on your analysis here having something to do with Symir Torrance.
Sam, you know me too well. Of course I have to talk about Symir Torrance with this bench unit, but I'm still going to give the edge to Duke here, and it's simply because who's left for this SU team at this point? I mean, you just heard our reporter Noah Searson tell you that John Boljack's injury looks bad and Coach Boeheim doesn't think he's going to play. So what, we have a 7-man lineup at this point. You have no Benny Williams. You have no Jesse Edwards, which means you're already having to go to your reserve centers. And then you have Symir Torrance, who, I'll give Syracuse a bit of a point here, had his best career game in a Syracuse jersey with those 9 points, couple steals, 9 assists. He'll be great for their offense. But how are you supposed to match some of those guys on the Duke side that, Zach, I know you're itching to mention?
Yeah, I mean, Symir Torrance adds a completely different element to this team. I don't think either one of these teams really relies on their bench that much. But when Duke needs guys to step up off the bench, which is pretty rare considering you have A.J. Griffin and Mark Williams, I could go on all day. But when you need guys to step up on your bench, I mean, they kind of have a guard rotation that will allow guys like Jeremy Roach to come off the bench, Trevor Keels, Joey Baker. So they have so much different options in terms of scoring. Neither one of these teams is really 9-10 deep, but when Duke really needs to go to their scores off the bench, they've delivered this year.
Yeah, and Zach, one more thing. You know, you look at those minutes played leaders for the entire ACC as a whole, 4 out of the 6 are your Syracuse starters. So they don't need the bench at all either.
Leo, exactly. I was going to mention, we know Jim Boeheim loves sticking with his starters. Buddy Boeheim led the ACC in scoring, also led the ACC in minutes. Let's talk about Buddy Boeheim. That was the bench. Now to the lineups. Despite their differences, both these squads have first-team All-ACC selections. Obviously, Buddy Boeheim, I just mentioned. Paolo Banchero, probably going to be one of the top draft picks in the NBA draft coming up. Which squad's got the better star here, Zach?
Sam, look, Buddy Boeheim had a great season. And, you know, no disrespect to him, but I'm scared to death if I'm Syracuse going up against these stars that Duke has. It's Paolo Banchero, who's going to be a lottery pick. But then you look at the rest of this Duke team. Why isn't A.J. Griffin going to be a lottery pick? I think he is. He's the guy that started the season off on the bench, 6'6", and could shoot nearly 50% from 3. And then, oh yeah, by the way, Mark Williams too. And you look at the minutes that and the season that Banchero has had to this point, it's been a lot more efficient, and they haven't been so reliant on him to the point where it's almost been like there's a ton of pressure on him to perform. He's just been able to play the way he wants to. Sure, Buddy's got him by a couple of points, but I think overall in totality, Banchero's been put in a way better position to succeed.
Yeah, Zach, you alluded to my point on this one here. One of these guys is being projected as an NBA lottery pick. The other one probably is going to get drafted. So you got to give the star power edge to Duke and Banchero. I mean, look at the stats. He's a much better, well-rounded NBA player. There's no other way to phrase this. He's got much more rebounds. He's scoring less, but on much better, efficient shooting. And he can get blocks. He's got steals. He basically can do everything. So I have to give the star power to the guy who's going to be in your top 5 NBA lottery pick.
My lone question is, how many cereal commercials has Paolo Banchero done?
Facts.
Well, Sam, you got us there.
Listen, it's Buddy Boeheim 1, Paolo Banchero none. We're not done yet here on Orange Press Pass. Still to come, we're taking a look at the bigger picture in the ACC tournament and an active look at your bracket. Don't move a muscle.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Welcome to my house. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The walls were closing in. Clearly a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. it could help you find a little more breathing room.
Got a quarter?
And the home stretch here on Orange, press pass, Sam Lebowitz, Leo Silverman, Zach Letson. Syracuse took down FSU 96-57 today, and in doing so, they advanced to a date with Duke tomorrow at noon. And we've talked about it already, but before we head home, let's take a look around the tournament. Guys, here's the other matchups today, and a few from yesterday. Which of these matchups sticks out to you?
I mean, there's nowhere else to go here but the fact that Boston College is tied with Wake Forest. What's going on here? I mean, we've seen some big upsets in the ACC tournament. I know you remember very well that Miami team that gave Clemson a big upset in the ACC tournament very recently. But come on, I mean, Boston College is a team that's been the laughingstock of this ACC for a very, very long time. Wake Forest is the team with the ACC Player of the Year, and they're about to go into what I can only assume is overtime. So that's nuts.
Look, I'm going to say it if no one else wants to say it. I think the Deeks are frauds. Listen, this is their biggest game of the whole year. They are square on the NCAA tournament bubble, and what are you doing? You can't even get a lead against BC. That's a disaster, and kind of, to me, guys, just proves how weird of a year this has been in the conference.
Sure, and here's the bracket in general. Some fun matchups that we might get in this one. That Miami team against the winner of that BC Wake Forest game.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really interesting because we've talked about it's Duke and then it's everybody else. How does the rest of this conference perform? Because right now I think it's 50-50 between Duke and the field.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see as well. Who comes out of those bottom four matchups? Are we just going to assume it's North Carolina and Notre Dame, or is a team like UVA going to make an upset run?
All right, guys, before we get out of here, let's get your final thoughts from our analysts, Leo and Zach. Leo, how about yours? What's your takeaway today?
Sam, my final thought here is you need to keep Cole Swider hot. Listen, this guy, you know, as well as he's played in some of these big moments, he's had these huge games for Syracuse, he has a tendency to fall into a very big lull the next game. You look at some of these numbers he had. He had 21 against BC. We all remember that game he won at home. He then turned around, had only 8 against Virginia Tech. His career high 36 giant burst out against UNC. He turned around the next game, only had 6 points in that despicable Miami loss. So keep Cole Swider hot or you're going to lose to Duke bad.
Keep Cole Swider hot. How about keep Cole Swider around? Come back, Cole Swider. I know you've made your decision to leave. Maybe reconsider. No Jimmy, nobody next year. This is your team next year if you want it.
Well, that's just about all the time we have here on Orange Press Pass. Syracuse took down FSU in their first round of the ACC tournament. They've got Duke tomorrow at noon. That's a 4 p.m. Orange Press Pass, just like today. You don't want to miss that one. For Leo Silverman and Zach Letson, I've been Sam Lebowitz. Thanks for watching.